friends. I'm Reverend Michelle Buhite, the minister of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Amherst in Williamsville, New York. Welcome to this first live-streamed service, coming to you on March 15th, 2020, in the midst of the pandemic COVID-19 coronavirus. We are on a new adventure together. Over the last couple of years, we've wondered about live streaming our services, but it always seemed like it was too much to think about at the time. Well, here we are. I hope all of you are well and are taking the proper precautions to safeguard your own health and that of your beloveds, your neighbors, even complete strangers. If there's anything this virus is teaching us, it is that we truly are all connected, and that chance encounters can be life-altering. The challenge is to understand the difference between social distancing and isolation. We still need one another and can be present to one another. We just need to be a little more creative about finding ways to express that connectedness. There is so much that we still don't know about this virus. I am grateful to the leadership of the UU Amherst Board of Trustees as they continue to make difficult decisions about how we can continue to be a beloved community without unintentionally causing harm. We've been building trust in one another and in the strength of our church systems, and now we have an opportunity to live into that trust. Today's service will not focus on the Christianity that we haven't tried yet, as advertised in the March newsletter. We'll save that for another day. We have a more pressing need to be present to one another in this new space and to weave ourselves in intentional community. I have some ideas about how we can do that in these days and weeks to come that I'll share with you a little bit later. For now, let's prepare ourselves to begin a new thing together, a way of being together in worship, even when we are separate from one another. You might have a candle to light as I light our chalice, or you might just breathe into this common ritual as I light a chalice in this shared space. When I offer the chalice lighting words, I'll pause at each phrase so that you can participate by repeating the words. So get comfy, take a few calming breaths as I sing us into being gathered together. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving, ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again come. Join me as we light our chalice. We gather this hour as people of faith, with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. We light this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and meaning, in celebration of the life we share together. Have you noticed the signs of spring approaching? I don't just mean the lack of snow, but actual signs of spring. Outside our church building, the little white flowers that we call snowdrops have pushed their little bowed heads up through the resilient and resistant soil. This week I saw my first robin, and I have celebrated with my cats that the songbirds have returned to our feeders. We watch from the warmth of the dining room through double windows that also show that there is a different angle to the sun. The light is different. And each day, I hear the returning geese calling overhead as they follow their own internal GPS coordinates to return home. Wild Geese by Mary Oliver. You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert, repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscapes, over the prairies and the deep trees, the mountains and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese, high in the clean blue air, are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over, announcing your place in the family of things. There are so many things we can learn from the returning geese. We look up and notice their flying pattern, the characteristic V, that is continually fluctuating as leadership is shared and all are engaged in supporting the well-being of the flock. You know, there are no spectator geese. Everyone is doing what they can to guide the flock home. The first time I read Mary Oliver's poem was as I thumbed through, at the time, brand new Unitarian Universalist gray hymnal. It came out in the early to mid-90s. I was at my home congregation in Jamestown, New York, and we were unpacking boxes of these stiff new hymnals and repacking the boxes with the well-worn old hymnals. As we filled the shelf in the sanctuary, I kept one of the new hymnals back, and I began to flip through the pages. In addition to a wealth of new songs to learn and share together, the readings in the back of the hymnal revealed themselves to be intentionally pluralistic, still containing scriptures from our Christian heritage, but also plumbing the depths of other world religions, with writings by Unitarian Universalists and others, and little oases of poetry. As I read Mary Oliver's first line, "You do not have to be good," I felt my knees go weak. Everything about the religion of my upbringing had been built on personal goodness and the hope for eternal reward and the dread of eternal punishment. And yet here was this gentle voice just nudging away that preoccupation with personal goodness as a way to earn or keep salvation. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Now, if you were raised on original sin like I was, maybe you can feel a soft flutter in your heart at this radical notion of just being who you are and loving who and what you love. For me, it was positively breathtaking. The poem goes on to invite the reader into true relationship, speaking honestly of despair and disappointment, topics that are rarely brought up even among friends and family, much less strangers. And then there is the pivot point in the poem that begins with the word meanwhile. What a magical word. It's an important word that offers us a different perspective. We may be deep in our own despair and woundedness, unable to see our way clear. Yet meanwhile, the world goes on. It's not a ruthless claim. I find it to be a calming one. We can feel completely absorbed and overwhelmed by circumstances. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscapes. Meanwhile, the wild geese high in the clean blue air are heading home again. In the midst of chaos, there is a rhythm to the natural world that is available to us if we can just let go enough to pause and breathe. We can return home again. We return home to the home of our soul. Return again, return again, return to the home of your soul. Return again, return again, return to the home of your soul. Return to who you are, return to what you are, return to where you are, born and reborn again. Return again, return again, return to the home of your soul. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over, announcing your place in the family of things. Isn't that at the heart of our angst? Feeling lonely and disconnected? What a gift to be reassured that we belong. There is a place for us in the family of things. And isn't that the essential message of Unitarian Universalism? You are worthy. You belong. Over the years, as I've journeyed with Mary Oliver's poetry, this one is still my favorite. It's my go-to, probably because it speaks to my foundational theology. Each of us is worthy, and we are all connected. It is that deep connection that I want to lift up for us today. As we are being urged to practice social distancing to slow the progression of the coronavirus so that the medical community can keep up with it, we are likely to feel isolated. Perhaps attending church on Sundays is how you connect with your friends or to feel part of something larger than yourself. Perhaps you come to church to refill your cup, having depleted by a week's worth of the world's craziness. Or perhaps church is where you practice compassion and justice making, and this forced distancing is making you feel like you can't make a difference. So here we are, being together in a different way, a wider way. We have folks joining us in worship that may not have been able to do so if we were within our own four walls altogether. If that's you, welcome. We are glad to have you as part of our expanding circle of inclusion. We are here to live into the Unitarian Universalist seventh principle in a way that we may not have imagined before now. We often think of affirming and promoting the respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part as it relates to our relationship with the natural world, which it does relate to the natural world. And it relates to our interdependence and connectedness with the human family as well. We are connected in ways we can't even imagine, to the person behind us in the line at the grocery store, to the last person who bought a newspaper from the box outside the convenience store, to our friends, to our families. We need to pay attention. That's what these times demand of us, to truly pay attention. In the Gospel of Matthew, Jesus admonishes his disciples to be as wise as serpents and as harmless as doves. And with things the way they are at this moment, I think that's pretty good advice. In these times, be wise, be cautious, and be caring and compassionate and patient. All of us are doing the best we can in uncertain circumstances. For some folks, this might be reawakening old trauma. And if that's you, please seek out professional help, even if it means meeting through a phone or computer connection. For some folks, the uncertainty and isolation feeds into overwhelming fear and depression. If you know someone who struggles with depression, call them. Reach out with your voice and with your love. If you are one who has these struggles, reach out and ask for help, even if it's just a text to a friend or to your minister. Reach out. We have so many ways to reach out, even when we can't physically do so. In a moment, we're going to pause for a time of quiet reflection, to hold one another in sacred trust. To ready our spirits for this, I want to share with you a poem that was written by a colleague of mine in response to the pandemic. It is entitled Pandemic, and it has literally gone viral across the internet. Pandemic by Lynn, Ungar. What if you thought of it as the Jews consider the Sabbath, the most sacred of time? Cease from travel. Cease from buying and selling. Give up, just for now, on trying to make the world different than it is. Sing, pray, touch only those to whom you commit your life. Center down, and when your body has become still, reach out with your heart. Know that we are connected in ways that are terrifying and beautiful. You could hardly deny it now. Know that our lives are in one another's hands. Surely that has come clear. Do not reach out your hands. Reach out your heart. Reach out your words. Reach out all the tendrils of compassion that move invisibly where we cannot touch. Promise this world your love, for better or for worse, in sickness and in health, so long as we all shall live. Let's pause for a time for quiet reflection, to remember and lift up those who are on our hearts. We'll begin with a time of quiet. I'll play the piano a little, and then I'll come back and I will offer a prayer and light candles to bring the flame of our attention and love to those in need. Please join me in this time. We share and find common purpose. We turn our minds and hearts toward one another, seeking to bring into our circle of concern all who need our love and support. Those who are ill, those who are in pain, either in body or in spirit. Those who are lonely. Those who have been wronged. May each of us know that we are held in a love beyond our understanding. Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me. We are deeply connected, often in ways we barely understand. Remembering that connection, even if it is with people you only know in the digital universe, can sustain us in the days and the weeks to come. We will continue to find ways to connect, because we are creative and smart people. We can do this. For those already connected with the Unitarian Universalist Church of Amherst, we will be sorting members and friends into virtual villages according to geographic proximity and personal connections. These virtual villages will be a way to connect through phone calls, cards, email, and other ways to check in with one another and to help as we are able. You'll learn more about this as we work out the details. For everyone who is participating in this worship service, be sure to check out the Unitarian Universalist Association website, uua.org, to find the many ways our enlarged faith community is reaching out and creating pathways for connection. Everyone is also welcome to visit the UU Church of Amherst website at uuamherst.org to keep up with us as we find ways to deepen connection and keep our circle wide. There's a movement meditation on our website that you may find helpful to feel grounded and centered. I've enjoyed being with you in this time of worship, and I trust that you have found an oasis, a bit of respite in this gathered community. But how do we keep that feeling of connection going throughout the week? Well, I have a creative idea that anyone can do. I encourage each of you to create a sacred space in your home, an altar, that helps you to remember where you find your hope and strength. I've made a simple altar from an extra table lying around. So let me tell you about my little home altar here. So what I find important is that it balances both beauty and meaning. So the altar cloth that I have was given to me by my friend Karen upon her return from a trip to India. It's sari material, and every time I see it, I'm not only just in awe of its beauty, but I remember the friendship with which it was given. I have a weaving that reminds me that, again, even when I'm alone, I am deeply woven into a community that is larger even than I know. These rocks and shells I picked up on the beach at Normandy in France, and they help me to remember the resiliency and courage of the human spirit. And they remind me that I'm not the first nor the last to deal with these kind of situations, these hard times. This candle and a group of people, well, that's the symbol of my community and the light that we bring to one another and that warmth that shines in our hearts. Some of these other things are bits of whimsy. This little box with "You Are My Sunshine," I will spare you opening it. It plays "You Are My Sunshine." It's a little bit annoying, so I don't play it very often, but it does fill me with joy. It was given to me by my daughter, and it makes me happy. And these are some of my beloveds, and that just, again, reminds me that I am part of a long line of people who have encountered difficulty, who have had incredible joy, and that it is part of the human condition, and that I am not alone. I am never alone. And this beautiful little Inuit woman, I haven't decided exactly what her posture represents. She might be offering something or receiving something, and I love that ambiguity. So these are just items I had around my home, items that are meaningful to me, that give me joy, and that can remind me in the days to come, first of all, that I'm not alone, and that we have these webs of connection, and they don't stop as one generation gives way to another. They reach back, and they reach forward. And so I hope that you will create your own home altar and make small rituals of candle lighting, of breathing, maybe reading a poem or other meaningful words that can help to calm and center you. Just having a dedicated sacred space in your home can serve as a reminder that you are never alone. Each of us is held in a transforming and sustaining love. Perhaps we can all take pictures of our home altars and post them to our Facebook page, a reminder that we are all creating beautiful and meaningful ways to remain connected. We will be meeting this way, virtually, for at least the next couple of weeks. I hope you will join me next week as we resume our series on wisdom from world religions, with Rabbi Alex Lazarus Klein sharing wisdom stories from Judaism. On the 29th, Professor John Snodgrass will share Native American wisdom through Cherokee stories. As we prepare to close this service, I remind you that although we are meeting in virtual space, it is your actual contributions of financial support that keep us strong and vital and able to reach out in love to a hurting world. And so if you've made a pledge of financial support, please keep honoring that pledge. And if you're connecting with us in worship and are not normally connected to the UU Church of Amherst and feel so inclined, we invite you to go to our website and make a contribution there as you are able. In the coming weeks, as more and more of our plans are disrupted with cancellations and difficult decisions about where we will go and with whom, I invite you to remember that not everything has been canceled. I'll close with this little gem I found on the internet. Conversations will not be canceled. Relationships will not be canceled. Love will not be canceled. Songs will not be canceled. Reading will not be canceled. Self-care will not be canceled. Hope will not be canceled. May we lean into the good stuff that remains. Indeed, may we lean into the good stuff. As you go throughout your week, know that you are held in this space in love. You are not alone. I will now extinguish our chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Travel light and travel easy, till I see you once again. Travel light and travel easy, and remember I'm your friend. Be well. in awe of its beauty, but I remember the friendship with which it was given. I have a weaving that reminds me that, again, even when I'm alone, I am deeply woven into a community that... So it's just
How does it sound? Says it sounds good. I had the sound on for that.
Okay. Hopefully
So let's just do a little sound check when I'm close to you. You just say anything.
So my name is Michelle Buhite, and I'm the minister of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Amherst in Williamsville, New York. And we just got either two thumbs or just on his way to his headphones.
We'll end up doing that from now on.
Right, the sound being close. It sounds good.
Yeah,